Hello and welcome to the Patrick Chapman Show. I'm Patrick Chapman and here we go. Funny things happen to you when you have kids, things you don't expect. And the other day I was teaching at the high school and I was playing Go Get Dell with my students when someone led a heart and then the next guy followed suit with the 10 of hearts. And then the next player also played the 10 of hearts. And it's a good thing that there weren't two aces, otherwise we would have had to go out and shoot somebody. But there were two tens of hearts in the deck, and it was immediately obvious that the deck was spoiled, having been somehow scrambled with another deck. So we managed to play out the game as fairly as we could, but somebody somehow must have mixed the two decks of cards. There's the deck, I'm going to have to check it later, and all the decks before I use them again. But anyhow, funny thing, two tens of hearts in one deck of cards. I saw my first stork last week on Wednesday. They've been around for a while, but I just saw my first one, which is always a spring thing to look forward to. And I saw my first bat flying around over the football field on Friday evening. And speaking of bats, I had been talking about baseball in the last episode, and I want to continue on that theme. But I want to talk fast, because I want to get it. I got a lot to cover. I want to do it fast, and I'm afraid I'll get boring, and I don't want to be boring. So let me just say what I want to say. So at the end of my street, the top end of my street, is our top end of the street. At the end of my street, when I was growing up in Elk Grove Village, there was a park called Fairchild Park. And in this park, there was a baseball diamond. And in fact, it wasn't supposed to be a baseball diamond, it was supposed to be a softball diamond. But we would play baseball there. And one of the cool things about my whole childhood, one of the best things, was just going up to that park on any summer morning, as long as it wasn't raining, and I would bring my glove, my baseball glove, or mitt. I don't know, we used to call it a mitt, or a glove. And if I had a ball, I might bring a ball with me. Sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I had a bat, I might bring my bat, but you had to have a glove, a baseball glove. So go up to the park and just wait, and then eventually some other kid would show up, or two or three kids, and we would throw the ball, and then when another two or three showed up, and we had, let's say, at least six, because you got to play 3-on-3 at least, or better 4-on-4, the more the merrier. I mean, what you want is 9 against 9, but you rarely get that. But we might have sometimes got 9 against 9, and we'd play baseball all day, just all day, and it was somewhat expected because obviously I would walk up there expecting to play, but it was also spontaneous in that you didn't know if anybody would show up or who would show up or for how long. And also the weather would change, sometimes it would rain. But on those beautiful sunny days, we would just play hours and hours of baseball, and that was a great thing. There was a sign on the fence behind home plate that said no hardball playing or only softball or something. I don't remember how it was worded, but the point was you're not supposed to play baseball. You're supposed to only play softball, but we played baseball. And Tom Kane's house was right behind the bushes that basically marked the home run, at the end of the field, at the far end of left field were a line of bushes, tall bushes, and behind that was the house, Tom Kane's house, which he has told me would have the windows broken occasionally by a flying baseball. And of course his dad wasn't happy about that. And my brother Peter could hit the bushes. I was very proud of him because he could, and that's, to me at that age, that was a long shot. I mean, to hit those bushes was far. So he could do it, and I could barely hit it out of the infield, rolling. I could hit it as hard as I could, and it would roll past second base if nobody got to it first. So, okay, let me go on with a couple of other things. There were a couple of other games that are similar to baseball, but not quite baseball. And one of them we used to play at school, and it's called kickball. And it's just more accessible to people to play. It's just easier. It's like a dumbed down version of the real thing. Kind of like softball's a dumbed down, but it's even dumber than softball. So it's kickball, and you use one of those bouncy rubber balls, about the size of maybe a volleyball or a basketball, but it's one of those school balls, those red rubber balls. And you don't pitch the ball by throwing it, and you don't hit it with a bat, but the pitcher rolls the ball over the plate, and then the batter runs up and kicks it as hard as he can, the way you would kick a soccer ball, basically, and then runs to first base. And then after that, all the rules apply, all the regular rules, except that you can also get the guy out by hitting him with the ball. So if you throw the ball and hit the runner when he's between bases, you can get him out that way. And so that's kickball. And we played that a lot at school. It was a lot of fun. And then there's wiffle ball. This is my wiffle ball. I think I showed that before maybe. That's the wiffle ball. So it's a plastic ball, and you hit it with a plastic bat or a wiffle bat. Wiffle ball and wiffle bat. And my brother Pete and I used to play at the Stanleys' house in their backyard against Dougie and Eddie Stanley. I think it was them two against us two. I don't know if we ever mixed up the teams much. I think it was pretty much brothers against brothers. We would play for hours, day after day in the summertime or after school, and it was a lot of fun. And we had what we called automatics, because you only had two guys on your team, so you can't field a whole, infield and outfield. You just got the pitcher and then one guy out there trying to catch the ball. And so we had automatics, and I remember one of the automatics was, if you hit the ball and it hits the tomato plants, you're out. So the tomatoes are out because you can't hit the tomato plants. So those were automatics. And sometimes we played at our house, but I just remember mostly playing over there. I don't know why, but we sometimes played at our backyard too, maybe. And another thing then regarding baseball is that in the summer times, we had what was called recreation. And this was a beautiful thing because the best thing about recreation, it was at Claremont School, right? The local public school. And so it was almost like school, except the best thing about recreation was that you didn't have to go. And I just interrupt myself here to say that it's snowing out here. What is this, April 6th? Yeah, we got a little snow coming down. Okay, so yeah, you didn't have to go to recreation. You just go if you want to. And I mean, that's the way school ought to be, And then if you did go, it was fun. They just had games and stuff. You could play. They also had arts and crafts, which is yuck to me, yuck. Arts and crafts. It's almost like I'd rather do school. But that was kind of for the girls or something. I don't know. I wasn't interested in that stuff. I think I did do a little bit, and I'm like, why am I doing this? This is like, I can't do it, and it's not fun. So I'm just not an arts and crafts guy. But we played a lot of sports. We just did a lot of fun stuff, and it was with recreation that I went to my first Cubs game. Pete and I went. It's like Pete and I did everything together in those days. So we went to recreation, and we went to a Cubs game at Wrigley Field. That was my first, and I had been watching the Cubs on television. I was already a big fan. I watched them every day. And here we get to go to the field, and I'm like super excited. We went on one of those big yellow school buses, and I remember we sat in the seats in the shadow, like when you're under these, what do you call it, the roof thing. So it was cold, even on a hot sunny summer day, it was kind of coldish in that shade. I also remember with a couple other guys, but I don't think it was with Pete, it was like two guys from the group, we walked around in the stadium, because in those days, you had your ticket, you got your seats, But then you could walk around in the stadium, and we were able to walk all the way down and behind home plate. And for one inning or half inning, we watched the picture, where you could see the balls and strikes like right there. We're right behind home plate. And we sat there for a while, and then we went back to our seats. Nobody bothered us. Nobody, gave us a hard time about it. It was a boring game, horrible game. The Cubs got one hit, and I think they were playing some team like, maybe it was the Astros or maybe it was the Padres, some team I didn't care about. I'm like, do I know this team? And then that team got like one run, and it was, or something. It was like 1-0, and with a one hit for us, and not fun. So, and we lost. If you win a one hitter, okay, at least you win. But it just wasn't that great a baseball game. From my perspective at that age, I was pretty young then. So that was a fun thing with recreation. But then the other thing with recreation, we played a lot of dodgeball. We always ended with dodgeball every day. I mean, because that's the most fun thing, or the funnest thing. And why would you not play dodgeball? Give a reason. Well, because maybe we'll do something else today. Okay, so some days we did do something else, but mostly we played dodgeball because that's the funnest thing. And I loved it. And then, so a lot of dodgeball. And then one time they organized this thing called Paddock Olympics. And I don't know who the organizer was because we went to it, kind of like the way we went to Wrigley Field. And I was involved because I had signed up or joined the softball team. And I love baseball, and I'm ready to play, but I'm also either the youngest, or if not the youngest, the littlest guy on the team. Because I was never a big guy in my class. So we're at this Paddock Olympics, and we're playing softball, except I'm on the bench, because I'm like the 10th guy out of 9 guys, or something. And they didn't let me play. Finally, it's the last inning. I don't know if we were winning or losing. I'm pretty sure we were losing. They put me in right field, so I get to play right field. Of course, the ball doesn't get hit to me. I don't get to make any kind of play. And then it's our turn to bat, our last chance to bat. And I'm on deck when the guy in front of me gets the third out, makes the third out. And that was it, nothing. A whole big nothing. And I was really disappointed. So that was the Paddock Olympics thing. But recreation was pretty good. Okay, let me go ahead to Little League, because I was in about 5th grade, I think, when, I think his name was Jimmy Johnson. Is that the guy that was in our class? I think it was Jimmy Johnson was his name. Anyway, he is the guy who asked me if I wanted to play baseball in Little League, because he must have been playing it. And he gave me the form. He got it from his father, gave me a form to fill out. I took it home. I had to get $20 from my dad, which was a lot of money back then. But I joined baseball. I'm like, oh yeah, I would have never thought of it if he hadn't asked me. I don't know why. Just these things, another year goes by and you don't think about it. So I joined Little League. And of course we had some practices before we started playing games. And at one of the first practices, I told the coach, or maybe he asked, like, what position do you want to play? I said shortstop. And that was it. I was the shortstop, which was kind of funny because it wasn't like everybody else wanted to play shortstop. I'm like, well, why doesn't everybody want to play? Okay, I'm the shortstop. That was great. And one of the things about playing shortstop is it's a long throw to first base. And I never knew how hard to throw it, because I wanted to not throw it way the heck over the guy's head, the first baseman's head. But I wanted to be accurate, and I'm like, what's the best speed to make it accurate? To get it there so it gets there on time and hit the target, hit the first baseman in the glove, right in the mitt. and so I just wasn't sure about how hard to throw it. And so then I throw it in the dirt, or I lob it over his head. And it was Ron Carr, who was in my class. He was also our first baseman. And one day he said, just fire it. He said, fire it. And it was almost like he gave me permission to throw it full speed, like full power. And so from then on, I'm like, all right, that kind of freed me up to now I can just whip it. You know, I can just fire the ball as hard as I could. And it doesn't mean I didn't make bad throws anymore. I would fire it way over his head sometimes, or right at his feet. You know, like bounce it. You know, 6 feet in front of him, but nice and hard in the dirt. Um, anyway, so then I knew how to throw the ball. Let's say so. We start playing games, and I had learned a lot from television, just from watching the Cubs. Just like the game, like how what you do, where you go, what you don't do, a little bit from other guys making mistakes in the pros, and listening to Jack Brickhouse, and I think it was Jimmy West were the announcers then. So I learned a little bit from TV, and at one point in one game, I'm playing shortstop, and there's a guy on first base, and there's a ground ball to me, right? So there's a grounder, it's a little bit to my left, so between me and the second base. So I move to my left, I scoop up the ball, and since I'm moving that way anyway, and I'm right there, I just step on the bag, step on the base, throw to the first baseman, and it's a double play. You just to me, it was. I was glad. I was happy to do the job. You get it done. But it didn't seem like anything super spectacular. It's just a 6-3 inning-ending double play, and the coach ran out to like shake my hand and congratulate me. And I remember him saying something like, "You look like you're in the pony leagues." I'm like, "Wow, that felt pretty good." I don't know what the pony leagues are, but but I was happy to make the play. But it was a kind of combination of feeling really proud and really good, and also like, well, that is what you do. I mean, what are we here for if you're not going to do that, right? So, and then another good play I made in Little League that year was, and also that I learned from watching the Cubs, is that, and I was pretty sure not everybody knew this, but I knew what I was doing. Uh, if there's a foul ball and it's a pop up, let's say a pop foul, and it's going to be caught, well, you can tag up if you're the runner. And I knew that from listening to Jack Brickhouse. And so there's a pop up, and I really don't remember if it was behind me. I'm on first base. If it was behind the first baseman, because I think that's where it was. So he's like, I got my back to him, ready to tag up, while this pop foul is coming down, and the first baseman is ready to catch it. Or it might have been the third baseman on the other side of the field. I'm not sure. I just don't remember now. But I remember thinking, he doesn't know that I even have the right to tag up on this play. I bet you. I just bet you, 50-50. And even if because he's not thinking of that, he's not thinking I'm going to go. And that's going to cost him about 1 second. And then when he does make the throw, it'll be a confused throw. Like, whoa, 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 what's going on? Oh, I got to throw it. Oh, there it is. Oh, get it to second. So that's gonna make him flub it just a little bit, and I'm just gonna go as fast as I can and see what happens. And this was all my decision. The coach hadn't said anything. He didn't know I was gonna do it, but I made my own decision, and I'm gonna go to second. So the guy catches the ball, and I take off for second, and I couldn't see him. I'm not thinking about him. I'm thinking about making it to second base, and I made it. So that felt pretty good. I tagged up from first base, and I went to second base on a foul ball, and which I guess would be a sacrifice. For a minute I was thinking, maybe is that a stolen base? But no, I think that's a sacrifice if you're scoring at home. Um, okay. Then there was another time where I think it might have been a Saturday. My mom got a call from my coach, and then she relayed the information to me, or maybe I talked to him directly on the phone. I don't remember. But those were the days when the coach calls the mom on the landline home phone. And the point was that he wanted to ask me if I would play in a game with older boys. Now, we were the Yankees. We were in red uniforms with red hats, but we were the Yankees. And I had a red hat with a black NY, New York. And so this other team was the older boys. I don't know how, I must have been about 10, so they were like 12 or something. But still, it's a big difference. And they had the same uniforms. They were also the Yankees, but they were the older Yankees. And they were short a guy, so they needed an extra player, and that's why the coach called me. And And I was just thinking, I've always, in all the years since then that I've remembered this story, I've always thought of myself as having been the first guy called, but he might have called six or seven other guys who, I'm busy there, we're going to see grandmother or something, and finally he gets down to me, so maybe I was the 10th guy he called, and everybody else was busy. But I think I was the first. I felt like the first. I always thought I was the first guy. Um, so, and in the meantime, my uniform is wet because it's in the wash. So I had to put on this wet-ish uniform and ride my bike to the field. When I got there, the my coach wasn't there. He wasn't going to be there. It was just this stranger coach, but this coach welcomed me and made me feel comfortable and welcome on the team. And all these older guys are there, and they're all happy to see me. Let's say they're nice guys. It's like a comfortable, welcome feeling. So they all greeted me, and I ended up going 3 out of 4, 3 for 4, plus a walk. I think, if I remember right. I don't know if we had that many bats in the game, but maybe we did if we were winning. Um, I went 3 for 4, I'm sure, and there might have been another walk in there. And then I played second base, and I played well enough. I didn't do anything spectacular, but and I don't love playing second base. I can do it, but and I did it. I just remember one play where there's a ground ball to me, and there's a runner on first. So the thing to do is throw to second and get the lead runner. But it was one of those ground balls that's taken 10 minutes to get to me. And not really. I mean, it's hopping, but I'm watching it hop. And what I should have done, and I know I should have charged it and made the play. But I was nervous and I wasn't as aggressive as I should have been. And also, I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to. I want to make sure I catch the ball so it doesn't go between my legs or something. So I'm waiting for this ball, and I know what I have to do. And here comes the ball, and it's coming and coming, and the guy's running to second, and it's coming and coming. Finally, I get the ball, and I throw to second, but it's too late, and I didn't get the guy. But I had the right idea. I just didn't execute it fast enough. But the coach was happy I made the play. I mean, I stopped the ball, let's say. So I did that at least. And and it was a good game, and we won. I don't want to misquote myself, but I think we won, and I know I played well, and I felt great, and it was like God handed me a day. That like when God comes down and says, "Here's a day for you, and you're gonna play baseball," because that was completely unexpected, out of the blue, phone call from the coach, and I'm there on the field, and I'm playing well. Like that's heaven. That was like heaven. So so after that season, we moved to New Orleans the next year, and I think I missed a year of baseball because of that move. I don't think I played that summer that we moved, but the next year must have been. I played for the Carrollton Boosters now in New Orleans, and again I played shortstop. I just said I want to be shortstop, and I was shortstop. Um, and there was one year there that my brother Scott coached. I don't think it was the first year, but it might have been. I just don't remember which year it was. I think I played 2 years with Carrollton Boosters because it's at a certain point you get too old. You're not a little leaguer anymore. But for at least 2 years I was there, and one of those years Scott coached, and that's kind of cool having your big brother coach. So, and I remember in one game at the Carrollton Boosters, I just decided I wanted to play center field, and I asked the coach, whichever coach it was, if I could spend one day, one game in center field, and he said, yeah. It was almost like I could just choose my position. That's how I felt, and I liked it. I liked it. I was comfortable, and I liked playing different positions, and I knew what I was doing, and I was confident, and I remember there was one ball hit straight up right at me, and I had to run up and catch it, and I did. It was like routine, but it was routine for me, and it wasn't routine for everybody, and this kind of bothered me. I'm like, what do you guys do? Don't you watch baseball on television? Didn't you grow up playing baseball? Like, how can you be playing and you don't know what you're doing? And like, it's like their moms just put them on the team or something, and it would get a little frustrating. But we had a pretty good team. We had a lot of fun. And and we had a problem at one point. And again, I mixed the 2 years. I don't remember which year this was, the first or the second. But the point is, we had a first baseman who couldn't catch the ball. And, whoever threw it, whether it was me at shortstop or the second baseman or just a grounder back to the pitcher, you throw to first and he drops the ball. And then now the guy's safe. Well, then, pretty soon, if that happens once, okay, but it was happening too many times. And we were losing bases and started to lose runs because of this. And so after, some time, after it happened enough, I said, hey, coach, can I play first base? And he let me. So I was the first baseman. So that was my experience playing first base. And I didn't have a first baseman's mitt. You know how they got the special glove? But I just used my own regular glove. And it worked. I'm not even sure the reason for that special glove. I guess it's for digging out throws to the dirt, in the dirt. But why can't you do that with a regular glove? Like, what's the difference? I don't know. I think it's a style thing. Like, it's a tradition for the first baseman to wear a different glove. I don't know. In any case, maybe it does dig out the ball better from the dirt. So I got to play first, and that solved the problem. But then we had the next problem, which was the catcher couldn't catch the ball. And he was doing the same thing that the first baseman had been doing. He would, here comes the pitch, strike right down the middle, and the ball hits the dirt. It hits the glove and hits the dirt. And this was important. It wasn't just a funny, silly little thing. It was an important thing because every league has different rules regarding stealing. And if we go back to that Yankees team in Elk Grove Village, the rule was that you could steal, but you couldn't leave the base until the ball crossed the plate. So you couldn't leave early, and you couldn't take a lead off. There were no lead offs, if I remember right. You stood on the base until the ball was pitched, and you stayed on the base until it crossed the plate. I'm not sure if that's perfectly correct the way I got that, but let's say that's the way I remember it. I think you were on the base until the ball crossed the plate. So that's one way to do it. The second way, the Carrollton Boosters, the way we did it was you could take a lead off, and you could take a big lead off. You could go halfway down to second base if you wanted to. But the pitcher could throw to first also, and he could pick you off, and so could the catcher, theoretically. But we had leadoffs. You couldn't steal unless the catcher dropped the ball. If the catcher caught the ball and the ball didn't hit the dirt, you could not steal. You had to go back to first base. So, and that was important because now we got a catcher who's dropping the ball. Well, then they're stealing, and it turns into a Chinese fire drill with guys just running around the bases, and we can't stop them. So to solve that problem, I asked the coach if I could play catcher, and he said yes. And so I ended up playing catcher, and that solved that problem. And I loved playing catcher. I never knew it. I had never played before, but I didn't know how much I would like it, but I loved it. It was different from shortstop in that at shortstop, there were times when I was confident and I knew what I was doing, but there were other times, especially at the beginning, where I would feel like, please don't hit it to me. Please, God, don't let him hit it to me. And I would be so relieved when he hit it to right field or maybe he struck out. I'm like, oh, good, I don't have to make the play. And then he does hit it to me, and I'm like, oh, will I make the play? And sometimes I made it well, and sometimes I didn't. And, I threw it way over the first baseman's head or something. So, a lot of errors. But there's that nervousness at short where you don't know what's going to happen. Maybe he'll hit it to me, maybe he won't. At catcher, there's no doubt. You're catching the ball. He's pitching it, I'm catching it. And if the ball is hit, then I'm still in the action. I know where to go, I know what to do, whether it's covering the plate or something else. So I loved playing catcher. I felt so comfortable there. But I didn't have any protective cup. And I don't know if the other catcher, whoever was playing, wore a cup, but I didn't have one, to protect myself, my family jewels, let's say. And I don't know what I was thinking, I didn't think about it. I was wearing blue jeans. I always wore blue jeans when I was playing with the Carrollton Boosters. You know, we had a uniform T-shirt and a uniform cap, but other than that, we were on our own regarding pants. Some guys wore shorts. Some guys might have had baseball pants. I wore blue jeans. So I'm catching behind the plate in my blue jeans, and it was kind of dangerous. And I now that I look back, I'm surprised my mom didn't say anything. My dad didn't say anything. My coach didn't ask me. The umpire didn't ask me. I didn't really care about it. And luckily, I never got hit because that could have been pretty dangerous. And I don't think I would let my kid do that nowadays. And I'm not the biggest safety fool either. I'm not like one of these safety guys. I believe in safety, but I don't believe in killing fun. Okay. So where am I now? Okay, so that was pretty much Little League. Oh, no, I'm not done. So in one of those years, Ray Santowski came down to visit. So this must have been the year after we moved. This would have been like 1977. At the Carrollton Boosters, we played night games. So all the games were at night, I think, pretty much, like a Friday night or something. And so one day in the morning, Ray and I, and probably my little brother Jeremy, and maybe a sister or two, we all walked up to the baseball field. It was a long walk, actually, but we walked up there. We took a bat and a ball or two and our gloves, and we threw the ball around. And then, but the main thing is we had batting practice. So Ray was pitching to me, and I was practicing hitting. And that worked out well because that night at the game, I hit a home run, and it was my first real home run ever. And it was not easy or automatic. I mean, the fence was high. It might have been not so deep or so far away, but it was a very high fence in left field. And I hit it right over that left field fence. And that felt good. I think it might have been my first at bat. And in those years, I was always confident at the plate. I was very confident, and I knew I could hit. I had no problems hitting. Okay, so that's pretty much the end of Little League. I was an All-Star. I got to play on the All-Stars. And if I remember right, I think we won the All-Star game. So it's like when you're on the All-Stars and you win, you know you're doing all right. So that was a lot of fun. So then let's jump forward to freshman year of high school. And a lot of things have changed. So I'm going to join Babe Ruth baseball now. So this is a new league, a little bit higher league, older guys because I'm older. So I joined Babe Ruth, and I had to go for a tryout. And what I suspect is that I had missed the tryouts because when I went, I was the only guy, except for the guy that was like trying me out. So there must have been like a team tryout, or maybe they had already had their team, and I was just the only new guy. I don't know. But anyway, I'm the only guy there, and this other guy who's judging me or grading me, hits me some ground balls, and I field all of them really well. And then he hits me some fly balls, and I make all the catches, and everything's good. I don't think I did any batting, just fielding. And so he, I don't know, he made his decision or whatever, and I was put on a team. And I just want to make a little side tangent here. Two side tangents. I got 2 points to make. One is this. At that point, when I started playing Babe Ruth, I did not have a good glove. I had my old glove that I'd gotten in the 1975 Christmas. I got a new baseball glove, and it was a great one. I loved it. But now it had been a few years, and that glove was wearing out. It was just getting flappy, flappy-dap-dappy. And, just the leather was wearing out a little bit on the inside of the hand from the sweat, and it was a little bit too flappy. And I had a new glove, brand new glove, but it was a glove that my mom had gotten with stamps. You used to go to Winn-Dixie, and they give you these stamps, or maybe it was A&P, I don't know. I think it was Winn-Dixie. You get these yellow stamps, you put them in a book, so you fill up the book with stamps, and then you get another book, and you get a bunch of books full of stamps, and then you get a free thing, whatever the thing you want. And I got a free baseball mitt. and it was not a great one. So I now got this new one that's not great, and this old one that was great. Which one do I use? And I remember having that dilemma, like two kind of crappy gloves. And a bad workman blames his tools. That's true, but I really, or what do they say? A lousy ballerina blames her tutu or something like that. I don't mean to blame my tutu, but I did have a couple of lousy gloves. So, and the other thing is this, the other tangent point is that every team I've ever played on, from the littlest little league to the oldest, latest team that I played on, which would have been high school, I guess, there's always one kid without a glove. How do you join a baseball team and you don't have a baseball mitt? Go get a mitt. Get one. Buy one. Get a job. They're expensive. Get a mitt. It's like a carpenter without a hammer. What are you thinking? But it's been on every team, and there's always one. There's never two. There's never two guys. Oh, I'm the guy without the mitt. No, I'm the guy without. No. And I know what they're thinking. They're thinking, well, I'm gonna be the catcher, and there's always a team catcher mitt. There's one catcher mitt for the team. So there's that, or there's like, well, my mom's gonna get me one next week, but then that week she doesn't. But there's gonna be maybe the next week, and it never happens. And then they're always borrowing my glove because I'm the catcher and I'm using the catcher's glove. Drives me absolutely up the wall. Like, get a darn glove. Anyway, but every team, every time, okay, it's like a phenomenon, and not a happy one. All right, so I joined this Babe Ruth team, right? So like usual, we got the practices before the game, so we have a couple of practices, and what I notice is all these guys know each other. I'm like the new guy. I don't know anybody. Everybody goes to two schools. Like half of them go to De La Salle and half of them go to Jesuit. And there's one guy who goes to Forche and he's playing third base. So, and I liked him. He was the opposite of me, where I'm like, please don't hit it to me. Oh God, don't let him hit it to me. Oh, thank God they hit it to right field. The guy hit it to right, or he struck out or something. Don't hit it to me. This guy's like, come on, ball, come to me, ball. He's like talking all the time, like, hit it to me, come on, hit it to me. Give me one, and I just love that. I'm like, wow, I wish I had that. And maybe I should have just changed my attitude, like by force or something, force a little confidence into my blood. But it's hard to fake it. So I meet all these guys, and they don't know me, and I don't know them, and it wasn't that comfortable, welcoming feeling like I had when I went to that game in the wet uniform, with the older guys. These guys, I'm there and they're there, and they know what they're doing, and I'm trying to figure out where to stand, or like, where's my position here. I was shortstop, by the way, so I started out at shortstop, but I felt like a fish out of water with these guys. And I quickly got demoted. And what happened was, at short, I made a couple mistakes, a couple errors, and then as you make a mistake, your confidence goes down, and then what happens is your confidence goes down. And then when your confidence goes down, you make a mistake, and then what happens is you make a mistake, and then your confidence goes, it's just a downward spiral of diminishing confidence, diminishing ability to make a good play. And so I got demoted to second base. And the thing with second base is I'm never very comfortable there. I can play second base. I can do that, no problem. I can be the second baseman for the whole season if you want. But I'm not that comfortable there because I don't know how to make the throw. That throw is a shorter throw, and I really don't know how hard to throw it. It's not natural. It's not comfortable. It's difficult. And you can't throw it 100% full speed, it's just too short a throw. And there's also no reason to. You're close, the runner is far away, you got plenty of time, and then you make a bad throw. It's like, I remember Steve Sachs used to make those errors. I'm like, yeah, I'm with him. I understand that 100%. That's me. I would have to make that throw 500 times in order to get to learn how to make, how to do it right. Or get the natural feel for it, where you're just doing it without thinking. I would be thinking about it, thinking about the throw. So I got demoted to second base. Then I got demoted to left field after not making those throws, probably, or just not being a good second baseman. So now I'm in left field, and from there I got demoted to right field, and from right field I got demoted to the bench, which is where I spent the rest of the season. And probably where I belonged, I guess, at that point. So, but I do remember just being fed up, just angry at the world, not caring. I didn't care, and I was playing right field one day, and so many mistakes had been made, and I wasn't hitting the well either. I couldn't hit. I don't know why. I had gone from being a really good hitter to I could not hit the ball at all. I couldn't foul the ball, with any authority. I would hope for a walk, and maybe sometimes I got a walk, because I remember being on base once or twice, but I don't remember hitting the ball. Maybe I got a hit at some point, but I was just not comfortable, not confident at the plate. I don't think the pitchers were that good. Maybe they were, but I couldn't hit them. So here I am one day in right field, just feeling miserable, and even it goes beyond where you don't care. You're semi-suicidal. And I remember doing some of my best tree work with the tree company when I was climbing trees. When you don't care, that's when you do your best work. When you're suicidal, you're like, I don't care, and I didn't care, and I'm fed up. The world is bad, and baseball is worse, and I don't care. And here comes a ball to me, right? The guy hits it, it's coming right to me, it bounces in front of me, I pick it up, and I don't care. Meanwhile, there had been a guy on first, so now he's rounding second and going to third. And I took all that negative energy in me, and I just put it all into one throw, and I just threw it as hard as I could, and I didn't care. I didn't care where it went. As I'm throwing, my hat fell down over my face, and I couldn't see where it was going, where the ball was going. So I just threw it as hard as I could. I mean, I put everything, all that anger into that throw. I didn't see where it went. It must have been a good throw, though. I didn't see. I'm looking at, where's my hat? It's down here. I'm picking up my hat. I guess everybody was impressed with the throw. So it was like in a sea of horrible baseball, I made one little good play. So that was the good play I made. I didn't get the guy out. I didn't get him out, but I made it close. I think it got to third, right to the third baseman on one hop, which is a good throw. But that just came out of just giving up. That was a I give up throw. That was an I give up. Right. Okay. Now the coaches were bad. We had two coaches on that team, and they were both bad. And here's why. One, they were not inspiring. They didn't inspire me at all. They didn't teach me anything. I didn't learn much that year. I didn't learn anything. I don't remember them teaching me anything. They were angry. When I made a mistake, which was often enough, they would get angry. And they were not funny. And they would tell these inappropriate New Orleans-style jokes that were just not only inappropriate to a kid, for when you're surrounded by kids, but just inappropriate. Like, don't tell those jokes. They're not funny. And some guys can tell those jokes, but they're the funny guys, And it just adds to the discomfort of the team and the being on the field and being around them. Like, bad coaches. And again, maybe it's like me blaming my glove, but I'm trying to be objective, and I think even objectively, they were not the best coaches that I've ever had. And I've had both. I've had good and bad coaches, and some in between. And then I got cut. The next year, I got cut. So they could have kept me maybe, but they didn't. And that was the end of my baseball career, let's say, at least for the moment. So now we got to go back a year fast. So that was freshman year. Now let's go back to junior high school. So 1 year previous to that. And I was in 8th grade. And I had to decide, where I'm going to go to high school now, because I could have stayed at McMain. I was going to McMain. And so I was there for junior high. My older sister Ann was going there. I could have gone there. That's where I would have gone. But my big brother Pete was at Franklin, and at that year he was a senior at Franklin, and he was playing baseball. And I'm like, well, Franklin has a baseball team. McMain doesn't have a baseball team. Easy answer, right? So I'm going to go to Franklin if I can get in. So you got to take a test, actually 2 tests to get in. And I eventually passed those tests and got into Franklin. I think barely. Because when I got there, I felt like, I don't know if this is really for me, like if I belong here. I was not a student. Pete was Mr. Student, he was a study guy. I was like Mr. I want to play baseball, and then I get there and there's no baseball team, so my whole reason for going there and not McMain, of course, Franklin's a better school. I mean, you don't really want to go to McMain if you have the choice, but still, I was pretty disappointed that I get there and there's no baseball team. And so I think about once a year at a party or something, the conversation would turn to baseball. And I remember at one party talking to Joe Lucore and maybe a couple other guys, maybe Timon Weber or somebody, about like, what if we got a team together and who would play where, and I would, maybe I'll be the catcher, or you'll be the, do you know how to pitch and all this, and like, who else could we get? And that, so freshman year, no team, then sophomore year, a little chatter, no team. Junior year, a little chatter, no team. Finally, senior year, and you're thinking, well, that's it, done. But no, lo and behold, Mr. Helm organized a coach for us, and this new guy, I didn't know it yet, but this guy had come down from Michigan, and I found out later also he was coaching basketball at another school, and I think also teaching history, maybe. I think he was also a teacher. So he's like juggling 2 jobs already, coaching basketball and teaching, and now he's going to also teach or coach baseball for us, so that's great. So we're pretty excited, and I'm excited. So finally I'm going to get to play baseball in high school. So let me have a sip of water because my throat is bugging me here just a second. So we have a meeting. We have a meeting for all boys interested in playing baseball. Please meet in the cafetorium, blah, blah, blah. So we come together, and I don't know how many were at that first meeting. I'm thinking it was only 9 guys, but that might have been the second meeting. Maybe there were more, but I think the first meeting was 9, and then the second meeting, we met again like a day or 2 later, and the coach came after school, we meet, and there's only 6 guys, and he's like, well, we cannot play with 6 guys. You need 9 guys on the field, and you gotta have a bench, you need pitchers, you need 15 guys. And so, the coach said we're gonna have one more meeting, and we'll see who shows up. If we don't have more guys, we're not gonna have a team. We'll give it one more try. So that night, I got on the phone, and luckily, we had this thing called the PTA handbook, I think it was called, and it was with everybody's phone number. So all the students in the school, organized by class and then alphabetically. So I started with the seniors, and I just called everybody I knew because I know the seniors, and I called everybody, and I was twisting arms, I was begging, I was offering to do unmentionables, and getting as many guys as I could to come in, and then asking them if they knew any friends who might want to play or could be talked into it, and to show up for the next meeting. And somehow, by hook and by crook, I scraped up a team, let's say, and we came together for the next meeting, and then we had our first practice. I remember at the first practice we didn't have gloves. He said, don't bring gloves. We're going to do it without gloves for the first one, and then we'll go from there. And it was in the backyard of the school, which was blacktop. It's like this paved surface. We had our first practice there. I don't know about the second or third. Eventually we went up to the Riverview and had it up at what they call the Butterfly, overlooking the Mississippi River. So then we had our first game after some time. We played. I think it was Warren Easton. We played first, and I think it was at Kirsch Rooney Park, and we couldn't do anything right. So just everything was going wrong. It was one of those bad dreams, except it was real, where everything was going wrong. We could hardly get them out. They were running around like crazy around the bases, scoring runs, and we could hardly get them out. And then when we got to bat, when we finally did get them out, we couldn't hit the ball. We couldn't do anything right. And I was getting frustrated. I was making mistakes. I was doing everything wrong. The whole team was just lousy. It was just I'd invited people to come out to watch. Oh God, it was embarrassing. So nothing was going right. And one particularly frustrating thing was this guy, Nigel Fields, is a good guy, ended up, great guy. He's dead now. He died somewhat recently, a few years ago. Great guy. But at this moment, I was a little bit angry at Nigel. And let me just talk about this name, Nigel. The name is Nigel, and I had never met anybody named Nigel. Coach O'Neill called him Nigel, but everybody else called him Nigel, and he called himself Nigel. And this is a name that's not American. We don't call anybody Nigel. There's no American named Nigel. This is an English name from England, and there are a lot of English guys named Nigel. So, but here's Nigel. And so in all this craziness of the game, there's one play, and Nigel's playing catcher. So he's behind the plate. He's playing catcher. And there's some action. The ball gets hit to the outfield. Runners are running around the bases. The ball, I don't know if it came to me and I threw it home or somebody else. Somehow Nigel ends up with the ball behind home plate or at home plate. Probably the guy scored. He didn't make the out, and he's got his glove. He's got the ball in his glove hand. So the ball's in the glove, and he's got his mask, his catcher's mask, in his right hand. Meanwhile, here comes the guy around second base going to third, and I'm looking at this situation going, how can he throw the ball? He's got the mask in his hand, and he couldn't throw the ball, and he didn't throw the ball, and I mean, I was frustrated. Good old Miguel. And this is something I learned from Jack Brickhouse going back, or maybe it was Jimmy West. The point is that from watching the Cubs on television, I remember there was a play, pop up behind the plate. The catcher's going to catch it. He drops his mask, and then he's trying to get under the ball. He steps on his mask, trips, and doesn't make the play. This is in professional baseball. So I learned from that, what you do is when the ball is popped up behind the plate, catcher takes off his mask, holds it for a minute, gets under the ball, throws the mask away, 10 yards away, and then make the play. And then go pick up the mask. Who cares about the mask? You don't have to take care of it. Just throw it away. Throw it out of your way, So there's Nigel with the mask in his hand. That was frustrating. Okay, here we go. I think it was that game, but it might have been the next one, where I got into pitch. And I was never much of a pitcher before, but I had been practicing, and I knew how to pitch. I could pitch, let's say. I could get the ball over the plate as well as anybody and throw strikes. And maybe even put a little curve on the ball. So I get into pitch, right? And I'm already angry, and I balk. And in pitching, there's like 100 different rules of how you put your head, whether you can move your shoulder. If you move it too far towards first, that's a balk. When you're looking over there at the runner, there's a runner on first. With your feet, you got to step this way before you step that way. If you step towards the first base, you got to step all the way towards first. You can't step towards the mound and step towards the plate and throw it to first. You have to step that way. So things you do with your feet, you got to hesitate when you come down with your glove in the stretch. I don't know, little rules about what you do with your hands, your shoulders, your head, your feet. And And so, uh, and so, so I balked, and I didn't know what I did, and I'm already angry. Before I balked, I'm angry because the game's going horribly, and now I balk, and now I'm really angry. And so I'm asking the coach, not the coach, the umpire. I asked the umpire what I did that was the balk. What was the balk? And he wouldn't tell me. And even now, I don't know what the rule is. Like, does he have to explain it to me, or does he just have to call it and that's it? And he doesn't have to explain it. I don't know, but I was mad because I just wanted some little explanation, like don't dip your shoulder, or don't look over here, or bring your hands down faster, or something. I don't know what the balk was. I don't think I ever knew. And so then next pitch, I balk again. And I don't know if there's a limit to how angry you can get, but I must have been there, or I kept getting, like, how angry can you get? I was angry before the first balk. Now I balked twice in a row. Now I'm just ready to explode like a volcano. The coach came out and like talked to me and calmed me down. But I mean, it's really how angry can you get? And when you balk, the runner gets a free base. So he goes from first to second on the first balk, second to third on the second balk. If I had balked again, he would have gotten a run. So I didn't balk again somehow, and I don't know. I must have changed something, or I don't know what. I didn't know why I was balking. Okay, so finally that ended somehow. Sometimes you got to thank God for the 20-run rule. Because if you didn't have that, we'd still be losing right now. They'd still be scoring runs. Okay, let's go to the coach. Best coach ever, Coach Chris Van Goes. Wonderful guy. He was serious about baseball. He wasn't angry, but he could get angry in a situation, and I've seen him angry. Smart, one of the smartest guys. He had a 200 IQ when it comes to baseball. I mean, this guy knew the game perfectly. He knew everything. Um, and he took us together. We lost that first game. We lost the second game, I'm sure. I don't remember the order of the games. We only played 9 games that season. It was a very short season because we were just getting started. We didn't have time to get a schedule and get, we would play games as we could, try to get in touch with other teams and pick up a game here and there. So we scraped together 9 games, and we won 3 of them. So we won 3, we lost 6, and I'm happy with that. You want to win as many as you can, but at least we did win 3, so that was fun. And I was happy just to be playing. But this guy, we were a ragtag group of kids, not baseball players, and he formed a team out of us somehow. Um, and there were 2 things that he taught me, which were just genius, like small level genius, but still genius. Um, One of the things was where to stand when you're the catcher and there's going to be a play at the plate. And you think, well, you stand, in front of the plate, you block the plate, and you stand there kind of near the plate. Well, kind of near the plate, but exactly where? Are you 1 yard down the line or up the line towards third base, or are you maybe 1 foot up the line blocking the plate? Where do you put your feet? And he told me exactly. You put your left heel on the corner of the plate on the left field line side, right? So you put your heel right there on the corner of the plate, just touching the edge of the plate, and that's where you put it, And it's like where to stand is like, it's like learning how to dance. Like, where do you put your feet? You get the left, left, right, 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 left, left, right, 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 left. That's how I dance. Left, left, right, 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 left, right, right, left. So he showed me where to stand, and that's kind of, maybe it's obvious, but I never knew it. Nobody else ever told me. Those guys in Babe Ruth didn't tell me. Well, I didn't play catcher in Babe Ruth, but still, they didn't teach me anything else either. So now I knew where to put my foot and my feet, and I'll never not know that. Now I know it, and I have it for the rest of my life. And it took about 1 second to tell me that. Then there's the double play at the plate. This is very important. A lot of times, let's say the bases are loaded, there's a ground ball to the third baseman. He throws it right to me at the plate. So I touch the plate with my foot and I stand on it, Now I got to throw it down the line to the first baseman. Well, how exactly do you do that? Because you got the. Let's see if I can do this with this camera. Yeah, you got the first baseman down here. Here's me, and here's the runner, like blocking us, like between us, and like go this way a little bit, maybe that way a little bit, maybe over his head. But then you're liable to hit the runner in the back or throw it over the first baseman's head. And you're in a hurry, so you're panicked because he's running down the line and you want to get the play. So, and coach told me, look, here's how you do that. You solve all your problems by taking one step toward the mound. Just take one step into the infield, off the plate, and now you got plenty of angle. And you can fire the ball right to the first baseman, always the same way, always on the inside. Just take one step, and you got it. And you got plenty of time, and that solved all those problems. Never again was that ever a dilemma. Like, how do I get it past the runner when I'm throwing it to first? Never a problem. So 2 genius things he taught me. Great coach. So, and then he had another thing. It's a trick play. He taught us a trick play, and it almost worked. It actually did work. And I'll try to explain the play. So, let's say we are the fielding team, and the other team is batting, and they have a runner on first. So here's the trick. The coach gives a signal from the dugout, like a verbal signal. So now we know the play is on. We're going to do it this pitch. It's activated, right? So, because we heard the signal. And what happens is the third baseman and the first baseman charge the plate just as fast as they can, yelling. No, let me go back a little bit. So first of all, I call for a pitch out. So the catcher calls for a pitch out, which is the fist. That's the signal we used for a pitch out. So now the pitcher knows, if he didn't know already, that he's going to throw a pitch out. He goes in, he gets set in his stretch stance, and I don't remember the timing, whether those two, the first baseman and third baseman start first, or if he goes into his wind up first. In any case, you got the first baseman, third baseman running down the line toward the plate, yelling bunt, bunt, bunt as loud as they can. They're just yelling bunt. The pitcher throws a pitch out, so the batter's not going to hit it. Meanwhile, the second baseman bananas around the runner to cover first base secretly. And now I got the ball. In the meantime, what you know is going to happen, it's just natural. The runner is going to be a little confused, but that doesn't matter. He's just naturally going to drift towards second. Even if it's just one step. And now he's out. He's just dead. I mean, I got the ball. All I got to do is throw it to first. But that's not what I'm going to do. I'm not going to throw it to first because that would be stupid on my part. Because then he'll just steal second, right? So I'm not going to throw it to first. I'm going to see what he does. I made a mistake. In the real action, we did this one time. We only did this once. It worked. So we got the guy, and I'm looking at him, and I got the ball. And he breaks for second base, and I throw to second, and he's going to be out. Well, he knows that, and he's not close enough yet. He hadn't committed enough, so he just went back to first base, and he was safe, actually. So I kind of misplayed that. What I should have done was made sure he was going to second, or just ran toward him, and then decided which way to throw, depending on which way he's going. But he's got to commit. And he hadn't gone far enough to commit. He was able just to go back to first. So it was no damage to us, but we could have had him out. And it was my mistake, 100%. But a great call by Coach, and he taught us that, and it was a beautiful play. Okay, then I just got to wave my own flag here a little bit. I made probably the best play of my life when somehow the ball came to me behind the plate, or at the plate, and the runner had drifted a little too far off second, like towards third. And I don't know if it was a play where guys were running around the bases or the ball had been hit, or if it was just he leaned off the bag too far at second base. So he's just a little too far off the base. But I think there was some action, and the ball came to me at the plate, and then this guy ran. He was probably the batter who had run around first and then second and then drifted too far. So now he's in between second and third, and I got the ball. So I take a step toward him to see where he's going to go. Is he going back to second? Because if he does, I got him out. If he goes to third, I got him out. So he's doing the left, left, right thing again, you know, like dancing, like left, left, right, 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 left, 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 right, 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 left. And I'm ready to throw. I take a step toward him. I look to throw to third, and then he goes back to second. I look to throw to second. I take another step, another step, another step. Pretty soon I just run up and touch him out. No throw. I just go all the way up and just tag him. The whole time he's doing this, you know, back and forth, right and left, right and left. And I got him out. And that was good. And that's another thing I kind of learned from watching TV. Like, you learn that. Like, you don't have to make the throw. Just run towards him until he commits. And then the fewer throws, the better. And that's the same thing with a rundown. A lot of these guys, even in the pros, they don't know how to do a rundown. I love rundowns because I always get the guy out. These guys, even in the pros, don't quite know how to do it. It's like at a certain point, the coaches stop coaching, and they just let them play. You know, you guys know what you're doing. Just play. Okay. Okay, let me check where I am here. Yeah, so that was my best play ever, I think. Oh, here's a point I wanted to make, because I know this is going a little bit long. Yeah, the catcher doesn't have to throw guys out when they're stealing. You don't have to actually throw them out. It's good if you do, of course, and I tried to, and I was pretty good. There was one time I had the guy out. One time, and I won't name any names, but somebody dropped the ball. And the ball was there, right in his glove. His glove was right there where the foot was coming in on the slide. And whether it was kicked or whether he just dropped it, I don't know. But it was a good throw, and we had him out. That was the one time I would have had a guy out. Other than that, I never threw out a guy stealing in high school. Or I don't know if any time. I don't ever remember throwing out a guy. But the point is, you don't have to, because you have to make it close. You have to show the other team that you have a good arm and that you can make it close. And that will slow them down. If you don't have a catcher who can throw the ball down to second, they're just going to run all over you. They're just going to run and run, green light all the way. And you don't want that. You got to show them that you can make it close. Yeah. So yeah, I remember we were losing, right? We lost that first game. We lost the second game. I don't remember when we started winning, but at some point, the Coach Chris Van Goos, said, "You're going to have jelly day. One of these days, it's all going to gel for us." And he called that jelly day. It's all going to gel. We're going to be pitching well. We're going to be fielding, and we're going to be hitting. And it's just going to work out for us, and we're going to get a win. And that happened. We ended up winning 3 while losing 6. So we got our jelly day. And I can also wave my own flag a little bit more because I scored in every game. So we played 9. I scored in 9 games, all 9 of them. And one of them because we played Ecole Classique, and I got a home run. So I hit the home run, and that was the 1 point we got against Ecole Classique. They beat us 20-1. Again, thank you God for the 20-run rule. But so I got that run. That's the only run we got. I got it, and it was the only home run of the whole year, whole short season. So I led the team in home runs with 1. And that was a short fence. It was like a meter high, and it was not deep either. It was like close and low, and pretty easy home run. But nobody else got one, you know. So you gotta give yourself credit where credit is due, right? I have to give credit to Richard Riggins, best pitcher I've ever caught. I mean, that guy could pitch the heck out of a baseball, and I just gotta mention his name. Richard Riggins, what a player. When he wasn't pitching, I think he played center field, and he could hit, but just his pitching was fun to catch, fun guy to catch, because he could put it there, and I mean with speed and power and movement, control, and and smart. And there are dumb pitchers. There are some dumb ones. Okay, and the last thing I want to say is this: I got the MVP. So Coach Chris Van Ghost gave me the MVP for that year, and I was very happy. I was so happy, and I am happy. Like when I look back on it, I'm like, I can die happy. I got the MVP in baseball. You know, hey, you know, there we go. All right, I can die happy, and now I can end this program. So thank you for watching, and we'll be talking again soon.